The first time Karen Whitmore tried to impose her will on me, I let it slide. The second time, I warned her. The third time, she stole my Jeep. That was a mistake. Karen had turned Hollow Creek Estates into her personal fiefdom, ruling from the HOA board like a self-appointed queen. Every week, a new rule, fine, or ridiculous mandate rolled out under her name. No trash cans visible from the street. No holiday decorations past 7 days. No anesthetic vehicles parked in driveways. The list went on, and the punishments were swift. I wasn't the only target of her power trips, but I was her favorite. Maybe because I was ex-military and didn't respond to threats. Maybe because I called her out when she tried to find an elderly couple for their too tall sunflowers. Or maybe, just maybe, because I never bowed to her HOA nonsense. But this was war. The theft, it started with a loud knock on my door early that morning. I opened it to find Mrs. Jansen, my retired neighbor, breathless and frantic. Her hands clutched her cardigan like she was trying to hold in a storm. Daniel, that woman, she took it. She had men with a tow truck. They cut your lock and hauled it off. For a second, I didn't process her words. Who took what? Karen, she took your Jeep. The air left my lungs. I stepped onto the porch and scanned my driveway. Empty. Ice spread through my veins. My Jeep, a tactical military-grade vehicle, had been parked outside my garage less than a day. It wasn't just any Jeep, either. It was tasked to me by the local police task force, part of an ongoing investigation. While it looked like a civilian vehicle, it was heavily modified. Covert surveillance tech, reinforced plating, encrypted communication systems. And Karen had just stolen it. The smug tyrant. I didn't waste time. I went straight to Karen's house. Her oversized, perfectly manicured property sat at the center of the cul-de-sac, her pristine white porch filled with decorative signs that read, "Welcome," and "HOA rules keep us civilized." I banged on her door. It swung open seconds later, revealing Karen in her signature pastel cardigan and self-satisfied smirk. "Daniel," she said, voice dripping with faux sweetness, "if this is about your vehicle, I suggest you refer to the HOA bylaws." I gritted my teeth. "Where is it?" Karen crossed her arms, chin lifting slightly. "Towed. Your truck violated HOA policy. No oversized or commercial-looking vehicles in driveways. It's not oversized. It's not commercial. And you broke my lock to take it." She shrugged, feigning innocence. "It was an eyesore. Consider it a lesson in following the rules." I took a step closer. "Karen, that vehicle isn't just mine. It's government property. You had no right to touch it." Karen's smirk wavered, just for a second. Then she scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. You can file an appeal with the board." "Oh, wait. I am the board." She laughed. I stared at her, my jaw tightening. "Karen," I said, voice low and controlled, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." Then I turned and walked away. Because this wasn't going to be handled with HOA fines or useless board meetings. This was bigger. And Karen had no idea what was coming. I didn't go back to Karen's house. There was no point in arguing with a woman who believed an HOA title gave her the power of a dictator. Instead, I made one phone call. "Captain Walker," I said as soon as he picked up, "we have a problem." His voice, sharp and no nonsense, came through the line. "What kind of problem?" I exhaled slowly, keeping my anger in check. "The Jeep, it was taken." Silence. Then stolen? "By the HOA." Another silence. Then a low curse. "You're kidding me." "Wish I was." I explained everything. How Karen had cut the lock, had the vehicle towed, and was now gloating about it. Walker didn't say anything for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped to a dangerous calm. "That vehicle is part of an active operation," he said. "It has classified surveillance equipment inside. If she or anyone else tampers with it, she will," I said, already knowing Karen's type. "She wouldn't be able to resist snooping, convinced she had one against me." Walker's tone turned deadly serious. "We need to retrieve it immediately. If she or anyone on the tow lot access its systems, That's felony-level interference. What do you need from me? You. A pause. Then, be ready when we move in. I hung up, pull steady, mind already calculating the next steps. The calm before the storm. I spent the next few hours preparing. First, I checked my security cameras. The footage showed Karen and 2 HOA lackeys cutting the reinforced padlock on my Jeep's tire boot. They even took pictures, as if documenting their great victory. That alone was damning evidence. Then I dug into the HOA's own bylaws. Karen had broken several rules herself. Misuse of HOA funds, unauthorized entry onto private property, and violating her own towing policies. I compiled everything. By the time I was done, I had enough to bury Karen under her own rules and the law. The trap is set. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Karen hosted her weekly HOA meeting. She loved to parade her power in front of the neighborhood, standing at the head of the community center, like a queen addressing her subjects. And tonight, she was holding court. The room buzzed with conversation as homeowners gathered. But Karen stood at the front, radiating smugness. In her hands, a folder labeled Carter's vehicle violation. She clapped her hands. All right, everyone, let's begin. People quieted. She beamed. First order of business, she said, lifting my cut padlock like a trophy. I'd like to remind everyone that the HOA rules exist for a reason. Some people, she paused, eyes scanning for me, seem to think they can ignore them. But today, we proved otherwise. A few murmurs of agreement. Others looked uneasy. Karen grinned wider. This, she continued, gesturing to the lock, is what happens when people think they're above the rules. I had no choice but to take action. The doors burst open. A team of uniformed officers strode inside, led by Captain Walker. The room went silent. Karen frowned. Excuse me. Walker cut her off. Karen Whitmore? She stiffened. Yes. He held up a document. You are under investigation for felony theft, destruction of government property, and obstruction of an ongoing police operation. Karen's smugness vanished. This is a mistake, she stammered. That vehicle was illegally parked. I was simply following the... Walker's gaze hardened. That illegally parked vehicle is a government asset. Your actions have put an active investigation at risk. Karen's face went white. You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. Walker didn't even blink. That won't help you now. 2 officers stepped forward. Karen took a step back. This isn't happening. But it was. And I made sure to watch every second of it. For the first time since she seized control of Hollow Creek Estates, Karen Whitmore wasn't in charge. She stood frozen at the front of the HOA meeting, her usual smug confidence replaced by a mask of disbelief. The officers, led by Captain Walker, flanked her like prison bars closing in. The silence of the room was thick, suffocating. I leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, watching the moment unfold perfectly. Karen's gaze darted between the uniformed men. Why, you can't be serious, she stammered, her voice losing its usual authority. This is ridiculous. I was simply enforcing neighborhood standards. Walker's expression remained impassive. Cutting the lock on a government vehicle and having it towed? That's not a neighborhood dispute. That's grand theft auto. A gasp rippled through the room. Karen's lips parted, but no words came out. Walker flipped open a file, voice crisp. You also tamper with federally secured surveillance equipment. The Jeep was rigged with encrypted tracking and data collection systems. Systems you interfered with when you forcibly removed it from private property. Karen's eyes widened. That's not. It is. Walker cut in. He turned, nodding at me. Carter, would you like to explain? I pushed off the wall, stepping forward. Karen flinched. I warned you, Karen. I said, voice calm but edged with steel. That Jeep wasn't just mine. It was an active law enforcement asset. You didn't just steal from me. You stole from the police. Her face twisted in panic. I didn't know. You should have told me. I let out a short, humorless laugh. I didn't think I needed to warn you not to commit a felony. The homeowners murmured among themselves. Some were stunned, others delighted. Many had suffered under Karen's iron-fisted HOA rule, and now they watched as she scrambled for a way out, her hands curled into fists. You can't arrest me. I was doing my job. Walker sighed, pulling out another document. This isn't just about the Jeep. We obtained financial records from the HOA's treasury. He raised an eyebrow. Care to explain the missing funds? Karen visibly paled. You used HOA money for personal expenses, he continued. That's embezzlement. A wave of whispers spread through the room. Karen's power, the control she wielded over this neighborhood, was crumbling. Her mouth opened and closed, searching for an argument, a way out. But there wasn't one. Walker gestured to his officers. Cuff her. The officers moved forward. Karen shrieked. No, you can't do this. This is a misunderstanding. The cold snap of handcuffs locked around her wrists. The room exploded into murmurs, some gasps, and even a few quiet cheers. Karen whirled on me, her face twisting with fury. This is your fault. You set me up. I tilted my head. No, Karen, you did this to yourself. The officers led her toward the door, her protests turning into desperate wails. This isn't over. I'll get a lawyer. You'll regret this. I watch her go, arms crossed. No, I murmured under my breath. I won't. And just like that, the reign of HOA Karen ended. Karen Whitmore's downfall sent shockwaves through Hollow Creek Estates. By sunrise the next morning, everyone knew the HOA queen, the woman who had bullied, fined, and terrorized homeowners for years, had been hauled away in handcuffs. The sight of her being let out of the community center by police had become the talk of the neighborhood. Some people were in shock. Others, like me, weren't surprised at all. But the best part? Her own rules were about to destroy her. The HOA turns on its queen. That evening, the HOA board held an emergency meeting. Without Karen, the remaining members, who had once cowered beneath her rule, were forced to face the ugly truth. And I made sure they did. I arrived at the meeting with documents in hand. Copies of the financial reports showing embezzlement, screenshots of her excessive fines and illegal rule changes, security footage of her towing the Jeep. As I walked in, the room fell silent. No Karen, no smug lectures. Just a handful of homeowners who finally realized what kind of monster they had let run their lives. I tossed the papers onto the board's table. I think we all know what needs to happen next. No one argued. By a unanimous vote, Karen Whitmore was officially removed from the HOA. She had spent years using the rules to control everyone else. Now, the rules were turning against her, and I wasn't done yet. The final blow. 3 weeks later, Karen returned, not as an HOA dictator, not as a smug tyrant. She came back as a disgraced, powerless woman. Her charges, grand theft auto, tamper with police property, and embezzlement were pending trial. The HOA had frozen her personal assets after discovering she had funneled community funds into her private accounts. And worst of all, she was no longer allowed to live in Hollow Creek Estates. The new board, desperate to undo her damage, had voted to ban her from HOA membership. Without that, she couldn't own property in the neighborhood, which meant she had lost everything. The last goodbye, I was in my driveway, checking over my restored Jeep, when I spotted Karen one last time. She stood outside her house, her former house, as movers hauled away the last of her belongings. Her usually perfect hair was a mess, her eyes puffy from lack of sleep. When she noticed me watching, her lips curled in a bitter sneer. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" she hissed. "To see me ruined." I studied her, then shook my head. "No, Karen, I just wanted you to stop screwing over everyone else." Her face twisted with resentment, but she had no more power, no more authority. She was just another person forced to face the consequences of her actions. Without another word, she climbed into her car. As she drove away, I couldn't help but think, the HOA had once been her greatest weapon. In the end, it had become her undoing.